turn off. It won't turn off and I'm crying.
One of my favorite memories from working on Supernatural has to be the episode where I was in a car with Jared all day. Probably 12 hours we were sitting in a car together doing monologues, very deep thoughts, deep, awesome dialogue. But in between takes, Jared liked to watch things on his phone of people falling off things. So, of course, he was like, what about this one? Basically, it was me kind of going like this the whole time because I couldn't stop watching, but I didn't want to watch. Kind of, but I did.
One of my favorite memories from the Supernatural set, I don't think I've shared with anybody. I was up there one year during my daughter's birthday. And Jensen and Jared found out about it. And they stopped the scene when they found out about it. And they insisted that I be able to record everyone on set singing happy birthday to my daughter. Because she was part of their family. Because she's my kid. That's what it was like working on the set.
My favorite memory from working on Supernatural will forever be my first day ever. And I got to do that running scene where Kevin runs away from Sam, like clutching the tablet. And I used to be a sprinter, and Jared severely underestimated me, and so I outran him. And the competitiveness of me definitely felt pretty good about that. And it was also Jared's, the last day that Jared had of not being a dad. Because the last shot, he finished his last shot, it was turning around to me, he gets a call, it's Jen, and he turns to me and he's like, hey man, like, are you okay to finish this scene by yourself? My wife's going into labor. And I'm like, oh my goodness, who is this guy that is so sweet and gentle and compassionate that he's thinking about, like, my coverage when he's about to be a dad? And that was Jared.
One of my favourite memories, though, is still the first ever day. I just so loved going up to Vancouver, helping choose the costume and the look for Rowena that I felt was very important from the get-go, and then being on set with Jensen Ackles as my director. And he said on the first day ever to me, he said, another redhead.
Oh my gosh, I was terrified. It was the first series regular I ever played, and here's Jensen and Jared behind camera. I was always early, always prepared, didn't even want to use my sides, and I remember those I mean, they're not assholes. I love them, they're amazing, but behind the camera the whole time they would just try to make me laugh, try to make me laugh, forget my lines, try to make me laugh, and I was just like, they were just like, it's all good, they were wonderful and like a family also, and I love them over there.
My first scene when I got on set was with Castiel, Misha Collins, of course. I remember walking up to the wardrobe person. She was like, what you're wearing, pretty much. So she took my V-neck, I had this thing around my neck, and she was like, we're going to do this, we're going to do exactly what you're wearing. So this is what is. So I thought to myself, yeah, this character fits very well. And, and then it went on from there. It was kind of seamless. I had an unbelievable amount of fun.
And then there was a scene where I was playing Dark Charlie, like the bad version of myself. And I had to do a scene with Jensen at a bar where I basically was like drinking, but I don't drink. So in the script, I had to like steal his shot and throw it back. And I actually stole the shot and I threw it all over my face because I didn't know how to do a shot. And Jensen really never let me hear the end of that.
I remember most of all the absolute bliss that it is to be given such sassy lines and the permission to say them to very tall men in front of me. And, and they don't always have a comeback. That was awesome. I am really grateful for the time that I've spent with Jared and Jensen and Mark Sheppard initially, and Misha probably more so as a pal off screen, and most lately Jack Alcal, who I adore. I'm so grateful for all the women that I've spent time with behind the scenes more at conventions and whatnot. Some of them I count amongst my best friends now.
Jared and Jensen were incredibly welcoming. We had the same sense of humor. I think you belong to the family when your sense of humor sort of sparks in the same way.
I am often recognized for being Charlie. It's probably my number one role that I recognize for, just because the show has such appeal across the world, really. It is really awesome to be playing a character who is not only representative of a gay hacker. I think that's a pretty awesome thing to give visibility to, but also just empowering women to know that they can be anything they want to be in this world. So Charlie will live forever in my heart.
It's one of those things that I can be going along my daily life and I think somebody's looking at me funny in the supermarket and I'm like, is my hair funny, or did I do something wrong? And then sometimes it's a Supernatural fan. And usually people have something really nice to say. The scariest one was I was walking along the street in West Hollywood, which hardly anybody walks along the streets, but I do because I'm like that. And somebody said something about you die, and I was like, oh, like I thought it was some kind of death threat, and actually it was a fan, a lovely lady about my age, saying, I hope you never die. Little did she know that I would die a couple more times after that, but it would all turn out all right in the end.
I don't travel so much anymore, but almost every single time I fly at the airport, on both sides, someone will be like, oh, dude, you played Kevin. A lot. This show has such a massive fan base all over the world. I remember I went to Istanbul once, and I had, not that many people spoke English. I didn't speak Turkish. I came very unprepared, and I just tweeted out, like, hey, I'm going to be at this statue in 5 minutes, and like 20 people showed up, and it was actually great, and they took me on a tour. It's a really warm, loving community, and it kind of helps bring people together.
It's crazy. I remember being in IKEA Istanbul in Turkey. I remember I was just there with my brother who lived there at the time, and suddenly this person starts crying and going, Balthazar, and I thought, oh my god, this is a real fan base.
I'm so thankful for all the fans of Supernatural who supported me in playing young Sam. Playing young Sam was a big part of my life. I grew up acting on the show, watching the show, so it holds very true to my heart. I wish all of the cast and crew continued success on their journeys, and thank you, Jared Padalecki, for letting me play the younger you.
My goodbye message for the show would be that the show might end, but family never ends. So Supernatural family will live on in our hearts and in our lives. So no matter what, you can always rewatch the episodes and stay with your fan family online and offline. Peace out, bitches.
To the fans, I really want to thank you for taking me on, first and foremost, for being so receptive to what I wanted to give to the character, and I think it pleased a lot of people. And I want to thank the fans, for the amazing loyalty and the amount of love that we get from the fans. And I'm hoping that you get, as much love from us that you've given to us, because it's been an incredible adventure in that respect. I'm sending all my love to the whole cast and crew of Supernatural. What an adventure.
Supernatural has been a part of our lives for so long. That being said, I know that everyone's going to go off and do some incredible things, and for me, the show is more than just the stories that we see on screen. It is the people that made it happen. I'll see you guys later in a different form.
The filming experience over 6 seasons, it's been so varied and so interesting. So many laughs. I doubt there'll ever be a set again that I'm on where people are so many years in and can be so relaxed and have the camaraderie that we all have had. It has been lightning in a bottle. I've been spoilt. So any other series I end up doing, you've got a lot to live up to.
A goodbye message. It's really a thank you. Thank you, Supernatural, for my home. Thank you for my literal home. For a roof over my head. And the ability to feed my kid. And support my dog. And have clothes. And that was all Supernatural. And more importantly, thank you for my home here. This is my family. and I learned what it feels like to find my family. I'm gonna miss you.